So one of Donald Trump and MAGA's favorite talking points this entire time has been that Kamala Harris won't sit down and do interviews, that she's not capable. That's the message they've tried to portray. The only problem with that message is now Kamala is out there doing interviews, so now they're having to change their tune. And they went from she's not capable of sitting down to do interviews to, well, she's sitting down with people who are just throwing her softballs. They're even mad at Fox News because she's going to be interviewed on there, and they're upset, and they're saying she's going to be throwing softballs. So if you're ever looking for consistency from Donald Trump or MAGA, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time looking for any consistency. There never will be. While they're telling us that she should sit down for more interviews, they go out and stand and watch a guy dance to opera music for 40 minutes. That's the type of people that we're dealing with here. But I want to turn the microphone now over to Kamala Harris because she's absolutely bringing the receipts every time she sits down for an interview. She's bringing the receipts, and I think they're realizing that. They're realizing the walls are starting to close in, and they're realizing that MAGA is soon to be irrelevant. Take a look at this clip.
Fast forward to right now. His staff won't let him do a 60 minutes interview. Every president for the last half century has done one, anyone who's running for president. Everyone has done it, except Donald Trump. He will not debate me again. I put out my medical records. He won't put out his medical records. And you have to ask, why is his staff doing that? And it may be because they think he's just not ready and unfit and unstable and should not have that level of transparency for the American people. There's a real choice in this election.
I really believe that several things has happened to Donald Trump over the last couple of years. First of all, he lost in 2020, and that truly rattled him. And just like Joe Biden said, something snapped in him when he lost. And when he realized that he was going to have to go out there to his people and say that he lost and admit it. And instead of having the backbone to be able to do that, he just sunk in his heels and said it was rigged, and he's still out there crying that. But then he actually thought that he had a chance to get reelected because he thought he was going up against Joe Biden. And he thought he could dig in his heels and run on the idea that Joe Biden is too old, that Joe Biden's not fit, that Joe Biden, is having cognitive decline and therefore is not capable of leading the country. And he really thought that's what he was going up against. And then Joe Biden waits till after the RNC, till after he's picked J.D. Vance, till after he's had his big moment in the sun to come out and say, I'm stepping out of the race, Kamala's stepping in. And the minute Kamala stepped in, she's a fresh face. Here she is. She's younger. She's way better looking. She's more qualified. She's better, way more well-spoken than he will ever be. And so all of a sudden now his ego took an even bigger blow because he can never really truly avenge that loss to Joe Biden. See, had he been reelected, had he just been able to beat Joe Biden in a rematch, he could have said, see there, look, I beat Joe Biden. I beat him in 2020 and I beat him again. It was all rigged. That would have validated everything he's saying. Now he's never going to get the chance to avenge that. And now he's going up against Kamala Harris. And I think another thing that really broke him was when he got on the debate stage with her. When that happened and she baited him and he fell for it, and then he's heard people point out time and again how, boy, man, she just mopped the floor with him. Boy, he really fell for every trick she threw at him. His ego is so bruised and so wounded now that that's why he won't sit down for anything, and I think that's why we're continuing to see him circle the drain. But Kamala's absolutely right in this next clip. He does not care about working people. He only cares for people at the top like him. Take a look.
He cares about the kinds of people who run the businesses he runs, big developers, billionaires. He's not looking out for middle-class folks. You look at what he is proposing in terms of cutting, if you look at the cost that middle-class families bear, healthcare costs. We have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes. Under Project 2025, they would undo that $35 cap. You look at what he is planning to do that is about getting rid of the Department of Education and Head Start programs. Who do you think that's going to affect? So there is, first of all, a danger in terms of understanding. There are two choices in this election, and understanding what Donald Trump intends for middle-class families. Two, look at it in the context of how he actually thinks and talks about black folks in America. And you and I have talked about this before. He is not looking out for folks when he was a landlord and would not rent to black families, sued for it. When he took out a full-page ad in the New York Times against those 5 teenagers, black and Latino, who were innocent, saying they should be executed in Central Park 5. When you look at the first black president of the United States, and he had birther lines, and now you look at black immigrants, legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, and he gets on a debate stage and says they're eating their pets? Come on. This man is dangerous.
We all know that Donald Trump does not care at all about black people, and we all know that he for sure doesn't care anything about immigrants. He also doesn't care anything about women. But what I really wish that people in my part of the world would come to understand is that he doesn't give a damn about you either. He never has. He's always had his own interest before anyone else. And yeah, he's going to give his rich buddies tax cuts. Yeah, he's going to watch out for people that are rich like he is. But at the end of the day, he would throw those people under the bus just the same as he would anyone else if it served his own self-interest. That's all the man is about, and he is using and exploiting white people in my part of the world to vote against their own interest because he comes out with this idea that he's going to own the libs, and they love that. And a lot of people that are going to go cast their vote, a lot of white folks in this part of the world that's going to go cast their vote, they're not just voting for Donald Trump. They're voting against all the people they can't stand. They're voting against all the people that they hate and they don't understand. That's what they're voting against. They're voting against every content creator that rubs them the wrong way, that they see in their news feed, that keeps trying to point out to them that they're being played. That's who they're rallying against the hardest. And they're doing it vicariously through Donald Trump because they think he cares about them. But he doesn't. If reelected, he would just give tax breaks to his rich buddies, and it's never helped people in our part of the world. Take a look at this next clip from Kamala, and then we're going to come back and wrap this one up.
Trump, on the other hand, first of all, like he did before, he will do again and has pretty much pledged that he will give a tax cut for billionaires and the biggest corporations. Donald Trump has indicated that basically what I call a Trump sales tax will be in place, which is a 20% tax on everyday goods and services, which economists have estimated will cost the average American family $4,000 more a year. Goldman Sachs.
Including the small businesses.
Of course, yeah. Including small businesses. Not to mention what he is doing. If you look at Project 2025, what they're proposing in terms of cutting off, for example, we see Hurricane Helene, what we have seen happen in terms of Milton, cutting off the SBA ability to give small businesses that have experienced an extreme weather event, a disaster, giving them additional resources. This man don't want to help small businesses. He cares about the kinds of people who run the businesses he runs, big developers, billionaires. He's not looking out for middle-class folks.
Yeah, Donald Trump does not care at all about working-class people. He only cares about himself and his own self-interest. And if he has to give his rich buddies a tax break to stay in their good graces, he will. And if he has to cozy up to dictators, he will. And he doesn't even realize that those dictators do not see him as a man that's strong. They see him for the weak, fragile dude that he is, and they realize just how easily he can be manipulated and played. I promise you that MAGA is a laughing stock around this world when people looks and sees how that he's been willing or how he's been able to dupe people into voting for him. It's absolutely disgraceful that people still latch on to this guy at this point in the game, that they still look at him as a sign of strength when he's out there literally disintegrating right in front of our faces. We're watching him just descend right into madness. And I'm going to go ahead. I don't really like to make a lot of predictions, but I will go ahead and say that when Donald Trump loses, I predict we will probably see, he'll have nothing to lose then. And I could not imagine the promo that he's going to cut. It's going to be like one of those Ric Flair promos back in the day where he takes the razor blade and starts cutting his head in front of the camera. Yeah, just get ready for that, because that's where it's going to be, because that's the only place it can go. The only hope this guy has in this world is to create as much chaos and division and stir up as much hatred as he can and get him across the finish line. That's the only hope he's got. But what I would say to people in my part of the world, what does that hatred get you at the end of the day? It ain't got you nothing. You want to talk about Democratic ran cities? What about Republican ran hollers? How about that? Let's look around at our own people and see that Republican politics has never got us anywhere. You go to church, you sit and you listen to your preacher repeat the Republican politics back at you, and makes you feel guilty for everything you've done in this world, and yet they get behind someone as immoral and disgusting as Donald Trump. How does that feel? How does it feel to know that when you go to church this Sunday, you're going to have to go to the altar and repent over what you did at the bar last week, but yet they're perfectly okay with everything Trump ever did? That's perfectly good. It's never got us anywhere in this part of the world, voting for Republicans. We're like chickens voting for Colonel Sanders when we do that, and I think deep down a lot of people realizes it, but they just want to hang on to Trump because they're so full of hate. And it's truly sad. But we're going to have a great Madam President, and I don't care one bit I don't care one bit at all to help her drag them kicking and screaming into the future and put this hateful rhetoric to bed once and for all. Folks, I truly appreciate you guys so much for subscribing here on the channel and listening to me every day. It means a lot to me to have you guys out there listening. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And yeah, we'll just keep moving forward, and we're going to be on the right side of history. Always remember that.